What's up, guys? Phoenix here. Well, it is April 8th, and we have finally gotten a new ban list after literal months of waiting, yearning, hoping things would get better. Honestly, have they? Probably not. This list was just put out today on April 8th, and it goes into effect on April 11th, on Monday. So literally, like, any regionals that you would be playing in this weekend are literally the last events that this list is legal for, as well as YCS Houston being something that's going on this weekend as well. Those are the last events that get to use this list. A lot of the updates are literally just moving the adjusted list hits over to this, which is something that I find really fucking disrespectful. The fact that we have two different lists that are both unscheduled. Like, if you're going to keep the adjusted list idea around, then you might as well give us dates for ban lists so that at least we know when the adjusted list stuff can expect to update. Because, like, your entire purpose of not putting dates on ban lists was so that you could change things whenever you wanted to. But the fact that you just created the adjusted list is just another version of that. Like, it makes me so frustrated, and it's one of the reasons why I literally cannot stand this game. But the format is looking a little bit better. I'll go through the hits really quickly, and then I'll talk about them in depth afterwards. So, from the adjusted list moving over to our actual ban list, Plushfire and Damage Juggler are banned, Tolmaeus is banned, new additions are Chicken Game is banned, so many FTKs are definitely just donezo. Wavering Eyes is banned because it's a healthy card for Pendulums. It's incredibly unhealthy. And then from the adjusted list hits, Luster Pendulum has moved over to being limited, Monkey Board and Skullcrobat Joker have moved over from being unlimited. And then Wisdom Eye is a new addition to the limited monster pool. They limited Elder Entity Norden. They unbanned Thousand Eyes Restrict and put it to 1. They have limited Draco Face-Off. They have limited Reasoning. They have limited Upstart Goblin. I can't say that with a straight face. They have limited Upstart Goblin. They have also limited Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer. I keep trying to, like, gloss over that, but it did happen. And then they've put Debris Dragon from 1 to 2 again for the second time since 2013. 2013 was the last time this card was at 2. And they put it at 2 just in time for Dragon Rulers to show why it shouldn't be at 2. And then Allure of Darkness has gone to 2. And Emergency Teleport has been put from 3 to 2. And then, no longer on the list, Dimension of Chaos went from banned straight to 3. Tragodia is at 3. Advanced Ritual Art is at 3. Crush Card went from limited to 3. And Dragon Ravine is still at 2. Why? Why is this card still at 2? This has been so many formats. The card is garbage. The card will do nothing. Dragon Rulers are banned. I'm so triggered. But anyway, going back up to the top, the Damage Juggler, Plushfire, and all the stuff from the adjusted list, that's already been justified. That's already been justifiable, and like it's very obvious why it would move over to the actual Forbidden and Limited list to be permanent. Now, could Damage Juggler potentially come back in the future? Maybe. But it's definitely at its unhealthiest with Plushfire, and Plushfire is definitely the problem card. Damage Juggler by itself was kind of okay. It did spawn a lot of cool decks with like Brilliant Fusion as engines and all that. It was very much an innovative combo piece, and also it just like protected you against FTK decks, protected you against things like Wavering Eyes, protected you from all these things, from little bits of damage, like so you didn't get hit by farm girls and shit. So I could see Damage Juggler coming back in the future because that's actually just like a really fair card essentially, even though it does block damage. But then Surgicard is at its strictest like a 1-for-1, but it does like turn other cards into +1s, and that's called skilled interactions. That's called being a good player, and you should be able to be rewarded for those in Yu-Gi-Oh! But apparently Konami doesn't think so. But yeah, Plushfire I don't think could ever actually come back because we have so many cards that actually just like trigger it because of the fact that it says that when it's destroyed. Like Guiding Ariadne and Plushfire are two cards that probably should have never been printed simply because it doesn't matter where they are destroyed and how they get destroyed as long as they do something. And like that's what makes Luster Pendulum unfair. Tolmaeus is the obvious continuing to keep that banned because like it really would limit card design in the future if Konami had to worry about Tellarknight Tolmaeus being an accessibility point for virtually any rank up in any deck that could put out 3 level 4s. So there's that as a problem. Now, Chicken Game. From the very moment this card was spoiled to be coming out in Clash of Rebellions, but when it was spoiled for the OCG to get it, within a day we had like 3 or 4 different FTKs and the first one that like caught on in the community was the Chicken Race FTK, or Chicken Game FTK, as it became known in the TCG after we got the name change. So, from the very get-go, Konami should have known that this card was incredibly unhealthy. Like, it's very fair if you just look at it on paper, in the terms of, oh, you can pay 1,000 to draw a card. Neither player takes damage, so it's supposed to be punishing you, right? Because you can't kill him that turn. And then, if you leave it up, your opponent can either choose to pop it and kill you, or draw a card and then try to fight you. On paper, it's like one of the most fair things I've ever seen. But that's not how it works. Like, this card is just degenerate in the form of, it's just another upstart goblin. It's literally just an enabler for all of these FTK decks, because not only is it at 3, it is at 6 because of terraforming, and that makes it at 9 because of pseudospace copying it. Like, you literally just increase your deck size by 9 cards just with the inclusion of Chicken Game into any sort of FTK deck that you're trying to abuse Chicken Game in. So, like, Konami should have known from the start. If they'd done even a slight bit of R&D, they would have known why this card was not healthy, for the same reasons that, like, One Day of Peace is at 1. Like, the card is not healthy. It's very simple, and it's very fair looking at the first glance, but once you start pairing them together, nah man, not good at all. Wavering Eyes being banned, I didn't honestly expect this card to get banned. I expected it to go to 1 or 2, but it's justifiable being banned simply because this card is both an enabler and a problem for Pendulum decks. It's actually become less of a problem simply because we have things like Pendulum Sorcerer that clear our own scales for us. But it becomes an issue when you try to play other Pendulum decks down the line against decks that can clear their scales. Like if you're trying to play Deskbots now versus Draco Pals now, before this list goes into effect, the Deskbot player is already at a disadvantage because of the fact that his deck can't clear its scales, because it doesn't have Pendulum Sorcerer, or at least they're not playing Pendulum Sorcerer because they can't Pendulum Summon it because the Deskbot cards have that restriction. The Performer Pal Draco Pal deck doesn't have that limitation, thus making the person that has Wavering Eyes in his Draco Pal deck have such a huge amount of advantage over the Deskbot player inherently before they even get down into the intricacies of whose deck is better. So, like, this just is, it's a combo piece, but it's also just been a problem. Like, when you have people that are offering to side out a card to have more skilled games, or to have less sacky games, that's when you know that there's an issue, and Wavering Eyes is one of those cards, because if you ever resolved it for 3 or 4, or sometimes even if you resolved it at the right time for just 2, it would just win you the game. And we don't have the built-in outs to the format anymore in the form of Damage Juggler and Pendulum Call, because those decks and that card has been phased out and banned. So, like, the outs that we had to Wavering Eyes is literally just clear your scales, or just hope they don't have it before you set your scales. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. As for the limited monsters, Luster Pendulum, that card's actually not that broken. It's more broken because of the fact that Ignister exists, Face Off exists, and because of Ariadne and Plushfire. If Ariadne and Plushfire were never printed, then Luster Pendulum is honestly just the fairest card in the world, because it literally just gives you one more Pendulum monster into your resource pool. That's literally what it does at its purest design point, is that it just increases your Pendulum pool by 1 card, and like that really helps those slower decks. But the fact that Draco Face Off was printed, and the fact that this can access Ignister is another one of those just issues that the card has. And it being just a tuner, even though it does bully you into only making the Draco guys all have abilities that give you more cards, and like that makes it really good, and also just really like limiting for the game moving forward, because any deck that has Pendulums in it and that can use the Draco engine is going to be focusing around like these 3 Draco Xyz monsters, and it's going to be limiting what the format could do to progress. Monkey Board and Skull Crobat Joker, those are fine at 1. Monkey Board honestly probably should be banned. I think any 1-card scale should probably be banned. Joker is definitely fine at 1. It's basically Stratos. It's been a format-defining card ever since it was printed, and it has yet to stop being a format-defining card, and it will probably continue to be a format-defining card until Pendulum Sorcerer or Joker itself is banned, because like those are the cards that make you want to play this deck. So, Wisdom Eye Magician going to 1. That seems to be a little bit of a preemptive hit, even though like in the OCG, Wisdom Eye went to 1 way before the Breakers of Shadow stuff came out. The thing still stands with us is that we could fall back on that deck as a way to keep Pendulums good, as well as Wisdom Eye being like the best one, and we still have all the Performapal stuff. So, like, this is just Wisdom Eye being put to 1 is just kind of a preemptive hit in my eyes, because it's literally like trying to prevent the deck from morphing into more of a Magician Pendulum-ish build that uses the Pendulum Sorcerers and stuff, and still being just that big of a problem. Because that could easily have been the case, because Pendulum Call is still a really good card. In case you haven't noticed, Pendulum Call is still very, very good. But Wisdom Eye also just made that deck and that engine very good and very resilient, because every time you resolved Wisdom Eye, it was just a +1. But now you only have one of it, so there's that. And then you have one Joker as well, so it's going to be hard for you to play like small engines and shit now. Elder Entity Norden to 1. This is actually the most irrelevant thing I've ever seen. It's so irrelevant that it actually makes me mad, because I don't have to draw the Norden. I have to draw the Instant Fusion. That's still at 3. The only people that played double Norden in their extra deck are people like me that just had room for it. But, like, you can easily just play 1. Like, there's almost no time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have actually needed the second Norden. It's almost never come up. Any deck that still plays Instant Fusion and Norden is still going to play 3 Instant Fusion, and it's just going to play 1 Norden, and we could now play Thousand Eyes Restrict just for spot removal if we wanted to, and there's Panzer Dragon for spell trap removal and for rank 5 material if you wanted to. Like, there's all these different options that Instant Fusion still has. Norden is, it's irrelevant being put to 1. Like, all it means is that now you can only resolve 1 Instant Fusion for 1 Norden unless you Emerald it back. But Emerald exists. Like, these are all things that come into play here. But if the game is so fast-paced at this point that if you're expecting and planning on resolving more than 1 Instant Fusion, then you're probably already, like, inherently putting yourself at a disadvantage in your mind, because the games are so fast. The chance of you seeing 2 Instant Fusion is incredibly low, and the ability for the likelihood that you're going to resolve 2 is extremely low. Ignister to 1. That card deserves to be at 1 for the same reason that Trishula deserves to be at 1. This card is actually just really, really fucking good, and it's really easy to access, just like Trishula was in its prime when it got banned. And, like, the fact that it's almost a better Trishula, because, in fact, it is a better Trishula, and it's also just another one of those cards like Wavering that is really, like, degenerate to the entire Pendulum mechanic, because you can pop a Pendulum card on the field. You can pop your opponent's card to spin their card. That's, like, not okay. And the fact that it just fuels itself further by summoning, like, Masters or Lusters from the deck, whatever you don't have in circulation, like, come on now. The fact that Ignister kind of needs to be at 1, because the fact that if you could summon the first one, you can automatically make it guaranteed that you're summoning the second one, because of the fact that if you didn't have Luster in circulation, you can special it out of the deck and then pop it, putting it in your extra deck, thus allowing you to Pendulum summon it out with any level 4. And if you used Luster to make the first one, then congratulations, if you out this one, there's a second one coming. That's like an issue. That's actually just an inherent issue built into the Pendulum mechanic and built into the game. So, there's that. Draco Face-Off at 1. This card should have definitely been hit before Luster Pendulum, because the fact that this exists, yes, it does give you the random chance of not hitting the Luster, but the thing is that, like, it's still 4 copies of Luster Pendulum, but Draco Face-Off is actually just strictly better because it puts 2 cards into circulation instead of 1. One is going into your Pendulum Scale, one is going into your Pendulum deck, one of them's going on the field, one of them's going into your Pendulum extra deck. Like, it's a 1 card that gives you just 2 monsters. It's literally just a +1 if you can Pendulum summon. Like, Draco Face-Off is absolutely ridiculous, and it deserves to be at 1. It actually probably deserves to have never been printed. If any card should have gone to 1, it should have been Draco Face-Off before Luster, because if you draw Luster, congrats. You have that 1 card. Draco Face-Off, you can still have the Luster, but you also have an additional monster that's in your Pendulum resource, and that's a problem. Reasoning at 1, this card's kind of unfair and degenerate, so I can kind of see that. Upstart Goblin at 1. I don't understand why this is, like, necessary, but I find it hilarious. I do find it absolutely hilarious. I guess Konami's just, like, tired of, like, FTK nonsense, or maybe it's just the same deal with, like, Book of Moon, where everyone was playing 3 of it for so long that Konami wanted people to stop playing it. I guess that could be the reason. I don't know, because like that's literally like the only justification Book of Moon had for getting limited when it did, and it stayed limited since, even though the card is literally shit in the current format. But Upstart Goblin it's really weird. It's really weird in the essence of like, I mean, I'm not unhappy to see it go, simply because like putting 3 Upstarts in your deck just like it created divides in deck building amongst players where like they were like, oh, you have to play 3 Upstart or else your deck's trash and all that. And it's like, I think I'll just do whatever I'm gonna fucking do, you know? But I mean, like, still, Upstart at 1. This is the second time in Yu-Gi-Oh! That Upstart Goblin has been on the Forbidden Limited list. Back in 2005, it was either at 2 or 1. I can't remember. Along with Reckless Greed being at 1. But this is the second time it's ever been on the Forbidden Limited list, and that's absolutely ridiculous. Debris Dragon went to 2. Probably going to be largely irrelevant. Allure of Darkness went to 2. It's probably going to be largely irrelevant unless like the Cosmo deck starts using it, because the Sword Trooper variant has a lot of darks to support. It has Dark Destroyers, Wicked Witch, Sword Trooper, Dark Eclipser. It has like 8 solid targets that are easily accessible. So it could play that to get pluses off of Cosmotown and stuff. Obviously, people that play Black Wings have gotten a boost. And then Allure of Darkness could also be played in like Dark Pendulum builds. Because the Pendulum deck is still very much alive. It has lost a lot of cards, and not even a lot. It's only lost like 6, really. And realistically, it's only lost like 6. But the biggest hit is in the extra deck to Ignister. Honestly, that's the biggest hit the deck got. But like the deck is still very much a factor because of the Pendulum mechanic itself being so inherently busted. But then E-Telly went to 2. You can't tell me that that's what you expect to be a decent hit for Cosmo. E-Telly is so much better of a card than Reasoning, but Reasoning went to 1, and E-Telly is just free to go at 2. Don't quite understand that one, but oh fucking K. The main thing I don't understand is why the fuck is Dragon Ravine still at 2? Like, Chicken Game was my solace. Chicken Game was like my consistency enabler for that deck. Like, I don't understand why this card is eternally at 2. I do not get it. At this point, I would have been less surprised if they had banned all the Dragon Rulers and left Ravine banned back in April 2015. Like, goddamn. But, like, D-Mock, Dragodi, Advanced Visual Art, Crush Card, all those cards are irrelevant. That's why they just went straight to 3. I mean, most of this list is, like, very minor tweaks, honestly. They didn't touch Monarchs at all, and they have not touched BA at all from the last list that they put out. So, BA is looking to be meta for literal 2 years straight, so there's that. Didn't touch Mermails either, outside of, like, the only card that they touched in Mermail was, like, literally Upstart Goblin, because you played that card because you tried to get to Net Abyss. But now, you just have to play other cards. Stuff like that. This list, honestly, is very weird. It does fix a lot of the issues. It does take it a bit out of a turn 1 format. But, like, it's still... We still have the problems that are still there of everything just being so inherently more powerful than everything else. But... I mean, I don't know if that can honestly be fixed at this point in time in the game. They literally would have to press a reset button, probably. But anyway, that's it. That's it for my ban list discussion, analysis, nonsense. The typical long video I do every time a ban list is put out. But let me know what you guys think about the ban list. If you like it, hate it. What things do you wish had been hit? What things do you wish had been unlimited? Stuff like that. Just let me know. Other than that, as usual, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description of my Facebook page, my Facebook links, and my Twitch links. Those. So definitely go check those out if that's something that you want to do. If you want to support me, same old way of clicking ads on my videos would be sufficient, and it would be greatly appreciated, and I cannot express how much it would help. But other than that, that's it for this video. This ban list has got me feeling some kind of way, but none of it is good. As always, guys, take care.